welcome back to my channel. Today we are doing the assumptions. I will be reacting to your assumptions about me I mentioned on my Instagram for you guys to send those in. Let's jump into these. I'm gonna try not to talk forever. The first one is one that I got a few times, and it says you want a larger family, more than just 2 children. A few people said like you want more than 2 kids, and I would say that's a pretty safe assumption. I think nothing is written in stone, and as much as I could sit here and say like we want 3 kids, we want 4 kids, I mean, we don't know. We might not be able to have more than 2 kids, but I would love. Jeff has agreed to 3. I've gotten him on board for 3. We'll see what happens after that. And then another assumption that made me laugh was, where is it? Oh, you will keep having babies until you get your little girl. That's great. Jeff laughed at so many of these, and that was one of them. So, I mean, to be, like, realistically, no. Realistically, we can't just, like, keep having kids until we have a girl. I would love to have girls and boys. I would love to have both. I would love to experience both. But I have no control over that, and that's not in my hands. And if that's not part of my life story, then that's okay. But I will say that if this little one, not so little, but if this little one were a girl, I think we would probably be done. It would be, I'd be like, okay, like we have a boy, we have a girl, like that we can be done having kids. But it's funny because when I was younger, I remember telling my mom, and somebody else said, like, I assume you want a big family. And when I was little, I used to tell my mom, like, oh, I want a lot of kids, I want a big family, I want it to be loud, I want the holidays to be, like, really busy. And the reality of that is obviously a lot different than, like, when you're a kid just fantasizing about that type of stuff. But yes, I would love to have 3 kids. It would be great to have a little girl, but if that's not in the cards for us, that's okay too. We'll have to sit back and see. The next one is one that Jeff laughed at. You want to be the breadwinner for your family eventually. So this one's actually wrong, incorrect. I would love to be able to bring in a substantial income for my family, of course. I would love to be able to contribute in like a very meaningful way. But I definitely don't ever want to be like the breadwinner. I don't know, it's just like that's not me, I guess. And yeah, I don't know, it's never been like when Jeff and I have talked about like our life plans, that's never, I don't know, it sounds weird to say that that's like not part of my life plan. Because like, sure, if I was making a lot of money, that would be great. And that would free up, like if I were making so much money that like I could retire my husband, like that would free him up to be able to like do things that he wants to do. So in like that regard, sure, but that's not like an active goal that I'm working toward, if that makes sense. You are sensitive and don't take harsh criticism well. I'm the same, LOL. So I think I am sensitive, so like in that regard, sure. But I think I do take harsh criticism well. It depends, right? Because like it depends on who the criticism is coming from. Who's giving the criticism and what is the criticism over? I think of criticism as like, I think back to my, when I was a dancer, and sure, whenever I would get notes, when I was younger, like in high school and stuff, when I would get notes, I never really, like, I would take them obviously, but I would always be like a little pissed about it. What do you mean I'm not perfect? So sure, like that, I remember being like a little pissed about that, but I feel like then with maturity and growth and like becoming an adult, I then started understanding that like, hey, these notes are for just to make me better and to make the show better. And that's sort of translated into my life as an adult and as a mom. And yeah, like of course, when the other example that I think of is when I was a Pilates instructor and I would get notes from management about my sessions with clients, or if clients didn't like me, yeah, that stuff would bum me out for sure. But God's rejection is God's protection is like a little saying that I like to say to myself. And if things don't work out, they don't work out, like between you and another person or whatever. And to be so honest, like where is that criticism coming from? I believe that a really good manager or whatever position, boss, a really good boss, they're able to deliver harsh criticism to you in a way that isn't mean, isn't degrading, in a way that is truly constructive. And so in that case, like, sure, like we all, of course, we can all learn and grow, and things can change and be different. And I think if you're receiving just like harsh criticism, like what's the context? What's the context for that harsh criticism? I don't consider mean comments on YouTube as harsh criticism, just like putting that out there. So when I get like mean or just like nasty comments, that's not, to me, that's not criticism. That's just like someone being mean. So like that doesn't bother me at all. And then for people like, you know, I have gotten people on YouTube who have said like, hey, your videos are too dark, or I can't hear you, or I don't know, like you're taking too long to get to the point, which is one that I used to get a lot. And it's like, yeah, okay, so that, I mean, that might sting, but like, how can I absorb that and then become better? How can I absorb that and like make my videos better or whatever? So yeah, I would say that I do, like, I'm not in a position right now as like someone who makes online videos and like is a stay-at-home mom. I don't receive harsh criticism. And if I were, it's, you know, it's something that I can take and something that I can examine and I can self-reflect, but then I can move on, you know, like it doesn't actually bother me. The next assumption is your husband can't cook. This one is wrong too. Oh my gosh, so many of these are wrong. Your husband can't cook. My husband can cook. Here's the thing. We're both like sort of the same. Neither one of us are like amazing home cooks. Neither one of us really likes to cook, to be so honest with you. Jeff actually does most of the cooking, but neither one of us is super like stoked about cooking. Neither one of us, I mean, I was doing like recipes a few weeks ago and I was sharing them on Instagram, and that was super fun. And like as a plant-based family, I love sharing our recipes with you. But yeah, neither one of us is super into it, but like we're both fine at it. And honestly, like just for future reference, if you're ever thinking like, is Jeff better at this or is Erica better? Like Jeff is always hands down better at everything than me. And if you guys know Jeff, if you're out there and you're watching and you're a friend of Jeff's, you know that's true. Like he's just better at everything. And that's something that I love about him, and that's like why I fell in love with him. And like why I think he's just the best partner is because he is so good at everything. And if he's not good at something, he will work hard to then become better at it. So I think cooking is like the only thing that like we're just both like fine at. If we like really put our energy into it, like we can make like really great dishes, but neither of us like really like it. Next assumption is such a good one, and it's you are a hardcore partier at Disney, off the clock, of course, of course. This one's kind of wrong too. This one's kind of wrong. I'll explain. So I definitely have some like crazy off the clock funny stories, like partying stories from my time, but I will never share those on the internet. I'll never share those in public in general. No, I wasn't really. Like if you talk to like friends of mine who I did cruise contracts with, they would like, I wasn't the one who was at the crew bar every night. I mean, I went to like parties and stuff, like when we'd have a Halloween party or a Christmas party. And like when we were rehearsing in Toronto, like for sure, I was like, especially the first contract, like I was out a lot. But once we got like into our routine on the ships, y'all, we didn't finish work normally. Like an early night to finish work was 9:30, and then a late night, or like on average, we'd usually be done anywhere between 10 and 11. And then my first shift would usually be at like 7 a.m. So I learned pretty quickly that like, first of all, you guys know I need my sleep. Even back then, even when I was 21 and like on my game, I still needed my sleep. And the work I was doing was so physical all day for hours that it was like, by the end of the night, I was so tired. I just needed to sleep. So no, I was not a hardcore partier, but I did, like, I obviously like had fun and like still like went out sometimes, but I was not hardcore. Next one is maybe that you will eventually put Hugo in dance classes. Yes, so we would love to. I mean, we're a very like arts centered family. And sure, I want him to try everything. Like if he tries dance classes and he hates it, then fine, we'll try something else. But I still want him to try it, and it's easy. I work at a dance studio, so like there have been so many times where we've tried. We'll try, we'll see. The next one is, I assume that you secretly miss meat. And this one is true. I do, sometimes I do. Not in like I mean, if someone put like a plate of meat in front of me, I probably couldn't eat it. But there are times where like I will be looking at a menu. Like one of my favorite pastimes, guys, is I will go through the menus of different restaurants at Disney World and like pretend we're eating there, and I'll pick out foods. I'm telling you, like when I'm at a restaurant and looking at the menu and I see like meat dishes, they look really good. I'm not gonna lie, they look good. Steaks are like the only meat that I kind of crave. I don't crave turkey. Even on Thanksgiving, I don't crave turkey. I don't crave chicken. I only crave steak. And then sometimes I'll crave like, I've never had a lobster roll. So sometimes I think like, oh, I would love to have a lobster roll. Or like other fun foods like that. You know, I crave cheeses sometimes. Not like crave. It's more of like the mental experience of having those things than like the actual craving. Do you know what I mean? So that's funny. It's true. Next one is that you're in your late 20s. That is incorrect. I am in my early 30s. So there you go. Unclear on cost of living / spending habits. Shopping at Whole Foods is expensive. Yes. Okay, so what I'll say about this one, or like how I'll address it. We budget for expensive groceries. And I think that's just something that like, that's just how we allocate our funds. So yes, shopping at Whole Foods is very expensive, but that like we allocate enough money so that we can. It's just, I mean, I grew up, my mom always bought organic groceries. My mom always bought, like before it was trendy or cool, right? This is like, we're talking like over 20 years ago. And so that's just how I grew up, like buying everything organic, buying the like spelt bread, buying like the weird, you know, like organic cookies, like all that stuff. And Jeff had a very similar upbringing, but he also has very similar values, as does his family. And we just appreciate very high quality. This makes us sound like such jerks, but like we just appreciate very high quality ingredients and are willing to budget or put more money toward those ingredients and like that grocery bill. So we don't really like, you know, it's funny because like I guess we don't spend a lot on other things that maybe other people spend on, and like the way it's tough now obviously because we're in a little bit of a different and tough financial spot, but we've still been able to budget in a way that supports us still buying, because it's our values, right? Like we still believe that like buying fresh organic produce, buying organic whatever, I'm looking at organic oats for Hugo, like stuff like that. Like that's just, those are values that we have, so we make sure that we have the budget for those things. Oh, it was really sweet. I assume you are an amazing mama. I hope so. Listen, I am human just like every other mama, and like I have my good days and I have my bad days, and I have moments where I feel like I'm doing a good job and moments where I feel like I am completely failing and like falling on my booty. And I think that's just the journey of motherhood and parenthood. She wrote also that you're very sensitive to your environment, the people and space around you like impact you. Absolutely. This is so correct. 100%. I actually realized about a year ago that I'm an empath, and so I absorb the emotions of the people and situations around me, which is very draining. I'm not just an empath in the sense that like when I'm around people I absorb that. I also just have to be really careful, because the same thing can happen to me by just scrolling through social media. If I see something, I have to like really make sure that I'm careful with the things that I follow. Like, and it's hard because you want to stay educated and you want to stay aware of different situations that are happening in the world. Like I'm thinking of different like refugee accounts that I follow that go out and help refugees, or accounts that I follow on Instagram that help, like disaster relief, stuff like that. Like, I want to be informed, I want to be able to help and donate when I can, but I also have to be really careful because I just like, I can absorb those things that I see, just images, I can absorb that, and it can really destroy me for like the rest of the day. So it's both a blessing and a curse. It's something that if you are an empath, it's something that you have to, I'm just realizing this now, is like, you just have to learn how to navigate that and how to be able to use it to your best advantage so that you're keeping yourself as healthy as possible. Next is, I assume you want, oh my gosh, I assume you want you and your family to move back with your parents. No. I love my parents, you guys know that, we're there very often, but no, I think that having kids is just so hard. It's so hard, and you know, it's not my parents' responsibility to have a house that is baby proof, and it's not my parents' responsibility to like not have the things that they have because they're not conducive to having a toddler. They had toddlers, they're past that now. Their toddlers are all grown up, so it's tough because it would be so hard. When we lived there, Hugo wasn't mobile. Like, he wasn't running around, he wasn't all over the place. Like, here, everything is baby proofed, his toys are all over the place, like, it's our own space. And like, bless my parents, but they've had either me or my brother living with them at all times pretty much throughout their entire lives. So like, I also think they deserve a bit of a break. They deserve to not have one of their kids living with them. And as much as like they might disagree with that, they might be like, no, it's fine, like, and they're so wonderful. Like, whenever we have, you know, if the power goes out like it did a few days ago, we can go over there, we can sleep over, like, all of that stuff is wonderful. But I think it's important for them to like reclaim their space. I think it's important for us to have our own space. Well, the next one is, Hugo's doing well in speech therapy, could you make a video about it? Thank you for mentioning that. And yes, he is doing so well in speech therapy. I haven't really talked that much about it. I wasn't quite sure if anyone was interested, and also like, I don't know, I've been debating in my head, like, should I talk about it, should I not talk about it? I don't want to like overstep any boundaries in the future with him. Like, I don't want him to get mad at me and be like, why did you talk about like me in speech therapy? But I think it's okay. Like, I won't talk in too much in specifics, but his speech therapy is going really, really well. He has not received an official diagnosis, but we believe that he has apraxia of speech, which is a bit of a motor delay. So his brain is just having a tough time coordinating with the muscles in his face and his jaw and stuff to like create, and his tongue to create the sounds for the words that he wants to make. What's good is that it doesn't seem like he has any other delays. So and it takes time, like this takes a lot of time, it can take years. But once he's able to talk, he shouldn't have any other issues. Like, they said that maybe he'll have a little bit of a hard time learning to read, but it shouldn't affect his reading comprehension. And then like further down the road, he should be fine. So it's been really great. We meet with his speech therapist twice a week, and we've noticed some like really big strides. Again, you have to have a lot of patience because it's not something that gets fixed overnight. It's really not. But the tools and the tactics they've been giving, like, we've been doing it all online too. All the tools and the tactics they've been giving us have been so wonderful. And yeah, I would highly recommend, if you have a little one and you think that maybe they have some sort of delay, to definitely check out any sort of like birth to 3 or any sort of early intervention program that your state may offer, because it's free and it's just a really great resource. The last one is your inspirational. You've been getting me through my pregnancy and this pandemic. Oh, thank you. And I mean, listen, we're in the same boat, right? We're in the same boat. It's a tough time, but we will get through it. Oh my God, I seem to have missed 2 of like the best assumptions. One was, I assume that you'd give the shirt off your back to anyone who needed it. That was so sweet. And yes, I would hope that that's true. I mean, I think that's true of myself. I hope other people think that too. And you have friends from all different backgrounds and ways of life. Amen, sister. Yes, that is true. And that's actually, when I think back on the story of my life, that is like one of my favorite parts about it. And I know a lot of that comes from being a performer and living so close to New York City and working on a cruise ship and traveling around the world. But I truly do. And I mean, granted, right now, as a mom of a toddler and pregnant, I have no friends. But when I look back on my life, I'm so grateful for all of the amazing, wonderful, eccentric, silly, fascinating, amazing, helpful people that I've known. I'm just so incredibly lucky. And those are all the assumptions. Thank you to everyone who sent in an assumption. I feel like we got a good mix in there, and I hope that you guys thought this was fun. I will see you all in my next video. I love you, and I'll see you very soon.